That's right, you saw the title correctly. It's a most complimented video, but it's one that I do annually that just has to be done. It's the 10 fragrances that have gotten me the most compliments this year. Sometimes that stuff matters and it's worthy of taking note, and the 10 that are in this video, while in no particular order, are the ones that, as far as I can remember, pretty much every single time I wore them, I got at least one unsolicited compliment. So let's talk about them. Stay tuned. Starting with one of my favorite designer pickups in recent memory, that being YSL EDT. While I did pick up all but the Le Parfum this particular year, this one got me the most attention. It really did. From the very first wearing to pretty much every time I've worn it that I can think of, I've gotten a compliment from somebody. And I don't just get told I smell good every single day with every fragrance I wear, but when it does happen, I take a mental note of it in the event of these types of video topics so I can talk about them. And this is one that, while very synthetic, don't get me wrong, kind of becoming my favorite, one of, for sure, blue fragrances. More so than the EDP, the Eau Fraiche, Y Live. Can't stop smelling it. Full of bright, crisp aldehydes, citrus, a lot of ambergris that adds this slight aquatic nature to it. There's a little dose of sage to add that blue fragrance feel. Sage is good for that. And solid performer too. Not a beast by any means, but above average. I don't get weak performance with this one. And if I had to just keep one from the line, I would keep the original, because for me it smells the best, performs pretty well, has gotten me the most attention. EDT. While this is going to be kind of boring for some of you to see, there's no denying, because I made it a point to wear it a bit more this year. And hell, I wore it a few days ago, and as soon as I walked out the room into the living room, my wife told me how good I smelled. Acqua di Giorgio Armani. It still works. All these years later, it still smells great. Call it dated, call it played out, call it what you want. I still think it smells good. It's not the weakest thing in the world on my skin like some people claim it to be. I still get around 5 or so hours. It's solid. It smells good. It screams 90s, which is my favorite era, my favorite decade. It just smells good. Like I said, I can't recall wearing it and not having somebody tell me I smell good at some point. It provokes certain people from time to time to say, ooh, that smells good, because it's very familiar to a lot of people, because there's so many bottles of this that have been out in the marketplace. It's unreal. It's an iconic classic. It's a modern classic. And like I said, it can be played out for you. You can not want to wear it anymore, and that's all good. But I still like to wear it from time to time, more so in 2021 than I did in 2020. And pretty much every time I wore it, I had somebody tell me I smell good. Because as cut and dry as it can be, it just smells good. Acqua di Giorgio Armani. In my personal opinion, hands down one of the best releases of the year. A very unique rose fragrance made for men. Rose incense. That being Zaharoff Signature Rosé. Every time I wear it, most recently, the one that sticks out the most to me was at King Soopers, Kroger, and a lady had passed by when I was looking at some of the ready-made, pre-made meals in the refrigerated area by the deli. She passed me. I saw her in my peripheral. She backed up to ask me, what am I wearing because I smell so good? It's different. Look, it's not for everybody. It can be a bit polarizing because it is rose. There's 3 different types of rose in this fragrance. But you want to talk about masterfully blended, bordering beast mode territory and longevity on my skin, sticks to my skin. It'll go away after several hours, and then if you do something to make your body temperature rise a little bit, it'll start projecting like crazy again. This stuff just goes and goes. And it's very unique. Like I said, rose incense. There's some fresh Turkish rose up top. There's some more jammy Bulgarian rose, but not overly done. It's just so well blended on the Signature Noir base. Get your nose on this one. Try this, because in my opinion, it is the highlight of the house. Even though Tobacco is phenomenal, it was another incredible release and is definitely the most popular Zaharoff fragrance as of the recording of this video. This is still the most interesting in my opinion, and it's the one that's gotten me the most attention from the house this year. That being Zaharoff Signature Rosé. Believe it or not, there's 2 AQUA fragrances in this video. The newest release, Profondo Lights. Every time I wore this one, I got a compliment. This is one of my favorite releases of the year as well. This stuff is, I just like it better than Profondo. I do. It's greener, it's fresher, it's brighter. It's not as absurdly synthetic as Profondo. Like I said, I'm not knocking Profondo. I love Profondo. I have 2 bottles of Profondo because it's one that I wanted to make sure to have a backup of. Probably going to need to get a backup of this. While it's going to take me a long time to go through this 75 ml, it's one I just always want to have. Because you know how it is when these limited edition flankers, they get discontinued at a certain point. Sooner rather than later, it's going to happen. And this is probably my favorite in the line. More so than Profumo even. Because I love fresh greens. I really am attracted to fresh greens in a fragrance. And this has a strong, fresh, spicy, crisp, fresh green smell up top. Still has that aquatic heart and soul of Profondo, but a greener take on it. Really, really love it. From the very first wearing on, I've gotten a compliment at least once. The very first wearing, actually, or the second wearing, I got like 3 or 4 compliments because I was in Chicago that day with my friends, and pretty much all of them was asking me what I was wearing. That smells so good. Oh my God, what is that? Just works. For me anyways. This year, I got many compliments with AQUA Profondo Lights. So this is another one I went back to a bit more this year than I did in the previous year. Because in the previous year, I wore the Eau de Toilette and the Parfum a lot more. This year, I made it a point to go back to the EDP a bit more. That being Sauvage EDP. Yep. Sauvage. I know. Boring. It can be boring. I understand. But it just smells good. It's the spiciest. Before Elixir came out, this was the spiciest version of Sauvage. It still maintains a lot of that freshness. It still smells like the original, just with the spices dialed up quite a bit. There's a touch more sweetness here than the EDT as well. It's honestly the most well-rounded version of Sauvage. If I was to recommend just one to you, I would say this is probably the one that'll give you a little bit of everything that the entire line has to offer, from the cool spray through the EDT, Parfum, Elixir, and of course the EDP. I think it's the most well-rounded of the bunch, from performance, scent profile, likability, freshness, spice, sweetness, the whole 9. And that seems to be the case when I wear it. I get more compliments out of the EDP than any other concentration. I don't have the cool spray. That's the only one I don't have, but I do have the EDT, the Parfum, and the Elixir. While from time to time when I wear each of them individually, they will garner some attention for me sporadically. This works every time. I can't recall wearing this and not getting a compliment. Well, not when I wear all the time, but every time I end up getting a compliment. It just works. If for some reason you haven't tried this one yet, I urge you, get your nose on Sauvage EDP. It definitely is a compliment magnet. Literally, when I was gathering the fragrances for this video, my wife came in here, sat down, asked me what video I was putting together, and I just grabbed this one. She smelled it. She said, "Ooh, yeah, I love that one." This is one that she wants to wear here and there. She's worn it 2 or 3 times, actually. It smells incredible on her as well. That being Maison Francis Kurkdjian. This is AQUA Celestia Forte. Another one of my favorite pickups of the year. Bright, fresh, minty lime. This herbaceous, but still pretty fresh petitgrain green note. It's a beautiful scent. Man, this stuff smells good. It performs really well. Not a beast, definitely above average. Very good performer across the board. Smells a bit unique for being a fresh fragrance. It's another one, fresh green. I really, really dig fresh greens. And it just jives with my skin chemistry. Not just for my enjoyment, but apparently for those around me. Because every time I've worn this one as well, gotten a compliment at least one time for every wearing. And I wore this one at least 2 handfuls of times this year because I enjoy it a lot. This was a blind buy, an expensive blind buy, but one that I am so glad I got my hands on because really, it could be a signature scent for me. I like it that much. I have so many. I like to go through the variety in my collection for sure. I like to mix it up all the time, but if I had to just keep a handful of fragrances, this could definitely make that handful, because I think it's that good and it checks every box for me, from scent profile to performance to positive attention, which is why it's in this video. Maison Francis Kurkdjian, AQUA Celestia Forte. One that I finally got my hands on in 2021, and during my testing phase, when I gave it a good handful of wearings, the hype is real on this thing getting compliments. For as synthetic and sweet as it is, it's super powerful, and people like to smell it. That's based on my experience. It's what I've heard about it for the longest time. It's Ultra Male, Jean-Paul Gaultier. I've worn this maybe 6 or 7 times this year. Not a ton. All the wearings so I could do the full review, really run it through the trials and tribulations and see how it performed on my skin and how it developed. And while very synthetic and sweet spicy, it's very loud, it's very strong, it's got a long scent trail. This stuff grabs people, and based on my experience, it compels people to ask either, what are you wearing, or to tell you that you smell really good. Every single time I wore it, I got multiple compliments. So I always thought, I put off getting it for the longest time, and I always heard this was a beast at getting compliments and super powerful, beast across the board. Every which way you want it to be a beast. Compliment beast, performance beast, projection beast, whatever. Turns out it is. The hype is real on Ultra Male. While not everybody's going to like it, not every single person is going to have the exact same experience with getting compliments and all that stuff. It worked for me. It worked for me like it has for so many others. Glad to have gotten it. While not one of my favorite fragrances to wear, I do like it. I just don't love it. I don't believe it's a 10 out of 10 like some people treat it, but if being a compliment magnet is one of the categories, it's a 10 out of 10 for sure. Jean-Paul Gaultier's Ultra Male. My favorite niche fragrance to recommend to you guys. And there is an intense version on the horizon that, from what I understand, is already available in Europe. I'm hoping, at the recording of this, it's mid-December, mid to late December, and I'm hoping in January for my birthday to procure a bottle, regardless of if I have to pay retail or not. I'm talking about MANCERA CEDRAT BOISE. This stuff just works. I've started to dent this bottle. I've been through a 10 ml decant of a much older batch. I've recommended this one to death to you guys. Me wearing this one in Chicago at the beginning of the year, Andrea and Anthony from Curly Scents got to smell it. They fell in love with it. They had to get a bottle of it. It works great for them. It's one of Andrea's favorite fragrances to smell on Anthony. Shout outs to Andrea and Anthony. Every time I wear it, I get a compliment. It's that interesting combination of fresh, fruity, sweet, woody, but not too much of any of it. It performs above average, not a beast. I get like 7 or 8 hours on my skin. More than enough. The sweet spot for me is 6 to 8 hours of longevity. It projects on the heavier side, but not too heavy. It's not an obnoxious fragrance because I don't overspray this one. I go like 7-ish sprays with this, which is plenty for me. It gets me through most of my day. And pretty much every time I wear it, I get a compliment. I love this stuff. I wear this more times than not. I recommend this more times than not. And when it comes to a safe first niche fragrance, this is always my default answer. Because for me, it checks every box. It's as versatile as they come. It's just a great fragrance. MANCERA CEDRAT BOISE. The fragrance I have the most bottles of. It's my favorite cheapie overall. I've gotten countless compliments with this fragrance. I wear it casually. I wear it out the shower. I wear it sitting around the house. I wear it running errands. I wear it a lot. Abercrombie and Fitch First Instinct together. Those of you that watch me on a, somewhat regular basis, you've seen me talk about this one many times. I love this stuff. This is another one I recommend a lot. Synthetic, sure, very synthetic. Has that interesting combination of the original meets YSL EDT, which we talked about in this video, meets my favorite, Invictus Aqua 2018. It's kind of an interesting combination of the three kind of put together. Slightly below average performer, 4 to 5 hour fragrance, nothing spectacular in performance. It is kind of loud, first hour and a half, 2 hours, does project pretty heavy. It really gets out in the air, and that's when it has the highest potential to grab a nice compliment for you. That's the case for me. Usually after the 2 hour mark, the hopes of a compliment have all but died because all of its main performance is in that first 2 hours, but it's magical. For me anyways, I love this stuff. It's cheap, it's worthy of rolling the dice. If you're looking for a great fresh aquatic, cheap, I'll continue to recommend it to you guys. They pop up at the rack stores all the time. It's the one blind buy that I have no issue telling you roll the dice with. If for some reason you end up not liking it, I apologize. That's part of rolling the dice. Blind buy at your own risk, but for me, it's a worthy one. If you have similar taste to me, you'll more than likely like this one. Abercrombie and Fitch First Instinct together. Lastly, the most easygoing fragrance I picked up this year. It is such a delight to wear. It's my favorite from the house because it's so laid back and easy to wear. Works for anything. One of the best hot weather fragrances I've ever put on my skin. ROJA Parfums Oceania. I love this stuff. Is it the most interesting from the house? Far from it. I think this is even more of an easy laid back wear than Elysium or Elysium Parfum Cologne. This stuff is phenomenal. Tons of citrus. Fresh, bright violet and iris give this lovely floral accord without being too powdery. It's a little powdery. It's very fresh. It's got an aquatic nature to it without a bunch of aquatic notes or watery notes giving it that appeal. It's very interesting how Raja Dove pulled that off to make this scent profile and these accords without the traditional notes to make that scent profile and accord. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. One of my favorite pickups of the year. Super happy to have added this to my collection. I love this stuff. It is so good. And I've gotten a compliment every time I've worn it. It's not crazy loud. It'll randomly remind you it's still there. It's bright and airy. It's a light, attractive, easygoing aroma. It's super fresh and enjoyable and likable. And it just never goes away on my skin. It stays and stays and stays. 8, 9, 10 hours into the life on my skin. It's still there. Not a skin scent, but not pushing like crazy at the same time. Never a bad time to smell like this fragrance. Get a decant and try this. This is a highlight of the house, in my opinion, because it's so easygoing. Laid back, yet still refined. Super fresh, yet a bit unique. Some really good stuff here. ROJA Parfums Oceania. While not every fragrance I've gotten a compliment from this year, I mean, there's fragrances recently I've gotten a compliment from that aren't in this video. The reason they're not in this video is because I don't get a compliment every time I wear them. I wanted to narrow it down to what I can recall getting at least one compliment every single time I wore them this year. These were the 10. And until next time, do me a real quick favor, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. So I do appreciate all the feedback, and I love hearing from you guys. What garnered you the most positive attention this year? If you recall or keep track of any of that, or any particular situation was noteworthy, let me know down in the comments. I'm interested to read that kind of stuff. Until next time, I will say if you get your hands on any of the 10 that got me some great attention this year and you give them a spray now, might end up thanking me later. Have a good one, guys.